Hi everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of It's Cool with Jasmine Cool. Let's see. Today's episode is going to be a little interesting because I don't have a specific plan and so much has happened this last week. I had my first week of real classes, which is funny because my real classes are just music classes. So I have one class that's not a music class, and it's my first year studies course. And most colleges' first year studies courses are like teaching you how to be a college student. This one is not like that at all. We read different works by, like, our first book that we went through is a book of poetry. It's a poetry work by Natasha Trethewey called Native Guard that's about like racism and white supremacy and domestic abuse and like grief and a lot of different things. And we read Plato's Republic. We're going to have a workshop in gamelan, which is a form of like drumming, I believe. And then we're like later in the year, like in second term, we're going to be talking about a blues album and a couple other books. I think one of the things is like a picture. And the class is it's taught by all kinds of different professors. So like my roommate's professor is a biology teacher who studies bees. Very interesting guy. Had them doing sidewalk poetry last Friday. My teacher kind of seems like a dick, but in a very interesting way. Like he didn't tell us what he's actually a professor of, which is interesting. But he's very specific about the guidelines for his papers. Like, it has to be between 700 and 800 words. He wants concise writing, which is actually good for me because I'm normally too concise. And then he wanted 2-inch margins on either side of the paper so that he had room to like write comments, which I guess kind of makes sense, but that's a lot of fucking space. Like, I said it like that and then I started writing and I was like, this is fucked. It's so weird. There's like so little, plus then it's hard to actually tell how big your paragraphs are because they're not like a smaller paragraph takes up more lines because there's like less space. So I feel like my paragraphs are very short. And it's very interesting to try and write. This paper we had like a week to do. So thankfully it was a pretty short paper, but it was still interesting because you had to have a very narrow thesis, and that was kind of the point. He said he was basically grading this one on your thesis and then your like evidence to support your thesis, which makes sense. I'm not quite sure mine completely makes sense, but we'll see. I had a meeting with a writing tutor because that's something that this school really encourages is the use of their tutors, like, because they especially don't want you to view tutoring as something you need when you're struggling. They want you to use it when you're not struggling so that you don't struggle. So I figured, oh, that's cool. I'll give it a shot. So I set up a meeting. It was in the library, and I was early. I always get there early to things. I got there like a little less than 10 minutes early. And I like went to the library, and we were supposed to meet on the second floor. And so I was walking up the stairs, and there was a sign that said second floor A level, and it was pointing to this one room. So I thought I thought that's where I was supposed to go. Okay, so I walk in and I'm super confused because it's just a bunch of bookshelves. You might be like, well, it's a library, dumbass. Except on this floor of the library, there was also supposed to be like the Center for Academic Success and like this other stuff. So I was like, this isn't right. So I'm sitting there for like 5 minutes, and then I walk back over to the sign because I'm like, this is not right. Turns out there was 2 arrows, and one of them was pointing to continue up the stairs. So I was on level A, not the second floor. Confusing. So I pack up and I go to the second floor, and I'm thinking, oh no, he's gonna like think I'm late, like this is gonna be so weird. Turns out he was still not there, because part of the reason I was thinking it wasn't right was he wasn't there yet. And I'm like, it's a tutor. There's no way a tutor's gonna show up like not early. I was wrong, apparently, because Mans showed up. Okay, he wasn't late, but he wasn't early either, which was not what I was expecting, because I assumed like, oh, writing tutors or like tutors in general are gonna be like type A, super on time or early or whatever. And then I had the weirdest experience of my entire life, because I had most of my paper written. I just needed to cut a few things and write a conclusion. And I told him so. And then he didn't even read my paper. He read like maybe a paragraph of it, except I don't even know. Like, didn't even read my paper. And then had me like talk through stuff. And the entire time, we both did not know what the hell was going on. He had no idea what I was saying. I didn't understand why he didn't know I was saying, and why he didn't know what I was saying, and I also didn't know what he was trying to do. So it was this weird, confusing back and forth of nobody knows what the fuck is going on for like half an hour. And because like I had explained what the paper prompt was supposed to be, and then I like went through my paper and explained my paper, and he did not seem to get it. And then he like he made me like talk through a part of my point that I wasn't even trying to really make a point about. So then like half an hour in, I'm like, I just want to get the fuck out of here, because this is not helping. This is just wasting my time. I could be spending this time editing my paper, quite frankly. So he asks me, he's like, so how, like, do you think you got like what you wanted out of this? And I was just like, yeah. And he goes, are you sure? And I was like, I can't remember if I laughed or like said yeah, like definitely not sure. And he goes, are you sure? Because we both knew we had accomplished nothing. He knew I was lying. we both knew. Neither of us knew what the hell was going on. So we kept talking. And I got one idea out of it that kind of, it made me like reshape my whole thesis. Which was like kind of helpful, but also like I had to like rewrite my paper, or like rewrite parts of my paper and like change how I wanted to describe what my evidence does, because I had originally said that the form like makes a cycle in the poem, which is like the cycle of grief, and then we realized that it's more like a maze rather than a cycle, and blah 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 blah. And so then I had to like change that, and then it was like 35, and we were both just kind of like done. So because we had said like 3 to 4, but it wasn't like a set time. And then it was just, so we were finally done. And it's weird because he seems intelligent, and I'm hoping he could tell I was intelligent, but there was just some kind of disconnect somewhere where neither of us knew what was happening. And I think it's a common thing with him because I talked to this other girl in my class who had also met with him as a writing tutor, and she had like the same issue where they just could not line up or figure anything out. So maybe it's not, maybe the problem is not me, but it was just one of the strangest experiences I've ever had. Yeah. Let's see. Last week, my roommate and I auditioned for the musical, kind of on a whim, but because we had both been like thinking about it, but they told us about the auditions like super late notice, kind of. So, it was like the day before auditions, and we like just went and signed up, and so we had to like, I feel like I might have talked about this last week because the last week that I recorded, was like the day we signed up, so I might have talked about it, but we had to like learn monologues and everything. I'm pretty sure there were jokes in my monologue that I did not get. Because it was about Picasso, and it was like kind of funny, but I was like, whatever, it's just something I can memorize super easy. But the directors were like laughing at parts I did not expect. So either I delivered it well, or there were jokes in there I did not get. But I guess I delivered them correctly, I suppose. But so we did that like last Tuesday. The musical we're doing is Musical of Musicals. It's like the four main like character types in 5 different mini musicals that are like parodies of 5 different musical composers. So the 4 characters are the matron, the ingenue, the villain, and then like the lead guy. So, and then like the 5 composers, I think there's like Rodgers and Hammerstein, because one of the shows is Corn, which is like Oklahoma, and then there's Sondheim, which is, it's something complex. Something like the title is, I think it might be A Little Complex. It's about an apartment complex. Then there's Dear Abby, which is kind of like a Hello Dolly. Then there's The Something of Junita, which is Andrew Lloyd Webber. And then there's Speakeasy, which is like Chicago. So we did the audition Tuesday. The dance part of the audition was Wednesday night, which was very interesting because I'd never actually had like a dance audition. The dance wasn't super hard, you know, it was fairly simple. And I'm a pretty good mover. I got that term from my friend who also auditioned, that was not my roommate. But she said that, and I agreed because, you know, I'm not a dancer, but I'm capable and I'll get there. So I'm a pretty good mover. The weird part was we had like 8 counts of improv, and the beat was a lot slower than you would have expected it to be. But we did all right on that, and then all 3 of us that were kind of hanging out together, it was like me, my roommate, and my other friend, we all got callbacks, which were Thursday night, and those took for fucking ever. They were like 3 hours. I mean, we didn't really have to be there for 3 hours, but the last part was entertaining to watch. So, they had us start, they taught us they had 4 songs, I think, that were like excerpts from the show that they were like teaching us all. And then they, what was I saying? Oh, this was the part that like kind of took way too much time because they taught us all of them, but we really did not need to know all of them because I only sang 2. I sang 2 of the 4, like actually, because one of them was like just an ensemble song. It was like chorus parts. It was Welcome to the Woods, which was like the it was the intro to the Stephen Sondheim mini musical. And it's so weird. Oh my god. It was so weird. I think I messed up a couple notes because we were like basically sight reading it. But I think I did okay. And then we also sang Follow Your Dreams, which is Climb Every Mountain, except the melody is slightly different. Oh, that's the other one. Okay, no. That one's part of Korn, but it's like Climb Every Mountain from Sound of Music. But then they taught us the other 2, which we didn't need to do. One of them was like for the matron. Well, Follow Your Dreams is also for the matron, but then they had another one for the matron that they taught us all unnecessarily because it's in a super low women's range. Like, it hit like the very bottom of my range, which I cannot hit consistently, but I was hitting that day. But they taught us that one even though they knew that's a very specific person that's going to be playing that character because they have to be able to do that and they have to have like a certain personality and everything. And then there was another one that's like the best fucking thing ever that's called Color Me Gay, and it was just like this man, and it's so short, and he's just basically like he like names things and goes like color them red, and then at the very end it's the boyfriend who won't pay the rent, color me gay, and then it's hilarious. So that one's pretty funny. But so that was the first part of the callbacks, was they split us into groups of 4 and then they had us sing Welcome to the Woods, each like individually. And then in those same groups of 4, they had us do Follow Your Dreams because there's like a high A in it. And I think I was like the only girl who like legitimately hit the A. But I didn't get that part. Darn. But I was a little mad about it because I was like, I'm like the only one here who can hit that note. Like, come on. But it's whatever. I discerned that my problem was I don't have the body type to be the ingenue, but I don't have the personality or the face to be the matron, because my how my personality comes off is very like ingenue-y, and I have like my face isn't super like sharp, so I don't really like, I look mature but I don't look like intense, I guess. So I don't have the body to be the ingenue because I have boobs and I'm not like super skinny and like small. So yeah. And then so that was like the first part. The second part, which was the super entertaining part, was they had everybody sing a happy birthday a couple different ways, and they would like give you different acting circumstances. So like one of mine was like, the first one I had was I'm whiny because the world is not enough about me and I'm whining about it. And then the second one I had was like young and flirty and whatever. And then some of the ones that other people got were like um, you really love the trees and nature. And you also love the person you're singing happy birthday to, but you just can't admit it to yourself, which was super funny. Um, to watch how people interpreted that one. Um, it was just very entertaining. So me and my friends, like, cause after you did that, they basically like said you can go, but my friends and I just stayed till the end because it was just funny. But then the cast list was posted like the next day. My roommate got a part, which we were kind of expecting because her voice really like just carried on stage. And she has a very pretty low range, even though she's like a soprano. But right now, she's kind of struggling to like get her upper range. But she has a very pretty low range, anyways. So they gave her one of the matron parts. That's not. It's not. It's like a high one for the matron part, because she also doesn't have like the body to be the ingenue, but she has a very like intense looking face. So she has the face for it, which I don't have. But then my other friend also didn't get a part. We're just in the chorus, which is fine. It's gonna be fun, but it's a little disappointing and we're a little bitter because we're like the best singers they have, and it's so nice because I'm a little jealous of my roommate, but we also like she said she would be bitter if like she didn't get a part. So like she gets why I'm bitter, and she knows I'm not like mad at her. Um yeah, but she's like I would be, yeah. Like she understands why I'm upset because she was also there for my auditions, and I'm not super upset. But my other friend's roommate is actually like one of the like lead dancers, incredible dancer, and like cannot really sing, like can kind of hit notes but can't sing, but she's aware of it. She scared me the entire time at auditions because very much just obviously dancer, 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 and like the confidence, like dancers are scary, okay? Like but then I talked to my friend and she's like, no, she's really nice, and she said like she wants to try and give us like dance parts because she's like technically like a dance captain, so she wants to like kind of show us off that way because she thinks we have more to offer than what they gave us, which is kind of true. There was some seniority in the casting, I feel like, which I kind of get because a lot of the people that are like seniors now or like upperclassmen, because the school only does like a musical every other year, like an actual musical. So this is gonna be like their last time, whereas like the first years are gonna get like 2 more. So yeah, we'll have like plenty of chances to be in more shows. I panicked for a second because I thought my thing stopped recording, so I had to like scroll over and check that it was still going. Which I'm an idiot because I can see the time that it's, so I can see that it's still going. I'm just dumb. But so my friend's roommate is apparently really nice and is gonna try and show us off that way. I already said that. I was talking about the seniority in the casting. Okay, so like I get it because especially because the last year they would have done it would have been like a COVID year probably. Like they might, I don't know if they would have done one in 2020. I think they must have because it would have been in the fall of 20. No. So they wouldn't have done one because it was the fall of 2020. So this may even be for some of them like their first opportunity at a musical put on by the actual like school. So I get it. And like a lot of them are very talented like actors, even though they're not the greatest singers. And the directors probably are more familiar with their capabilities than they are. And honestly, it's a good thing to have me not have to super worry about that when, like, with my voice teacher, I'm going to be really trying to just like re emphasize my technique and just like, you know, um, just get everything like just so I'll be able to just focus on my voice lessons really, and not have to worry so much about this because I'm just a chorus member. Like I'll be dancing and I won't be straining my voice or killing it or whatever, which will be nice. um yeah, so it's a little disappointing but probably better anyways. Yeah. Speaking of my voice teacher, I had my first lesson with her last Tuesday, and I fucking love her. She's like, she's scary, but she's incredible. She's very like science oriented, and kind of like doesn't really smile. I don't know. She's like kind of funny, but like almost not on purpose. But I love her. She's great. 'Cause I like the things that she was telling me. And because that's very important that you like how your teacher teaches and what they're teaching you, because I have my knowledge of how I think singing should like feel or be taught, and I know I'm not an expert, but I know because I've had other teachers before. So I know what works for me, and I know like what philosophies I like and what aligns with everything. And so like the stuff she's telling me is really nice. Like we spent like half an hour throwing balls to work on breath, and we spent like 45 minutes of my lesson like warming up and working on posture and breathing, which is very important. And I love that's like a super big green flag, because I did like maybe like 10 minutes of singing maybe in my first like hour lesson. So that's like a super big green flag. And I kind of fucked myself over because we did something that like frustrated me a little bit, because she had said that she doesn't like lip trills, and I said I don't either because I can't really do them. And then she was like, well, and then spent like 10 or 15 minutes trying to teach me how to do a lip trill, and I'm like, this is so frustrating. She had me doing like this yoga flow kind of thing of like breathing to do it, which worked. But then when I tried to do it without that, I like couldn't. I couldn't do it really. So, and I'm glad she told me like in choir and stuff to like not do lip trills, because she doesn't like you to do them incorrectly. And the choir environment was not setting me up to be able to do them correctly, because in choir they don't give you like 15 seconds before each thing to like breathe, which is what I was needing to do. I was needing to like and then go, which is what she was like having me work on, was the breathing and then the moment of pause, and then you start like the exercise. So yeah, and I really liked a lot of what she was saying, which was really nice. And then we got our choir placements, woo-hoo! So I got into the choir I wanted to be in. It's called Cantala, which basically gives away my school. If you couldn't figure out already, Cantala is like our treble voices choir. And it's very specific to the school I go to. I'll make this like a riddle. See if you got, not a riddle, like a test. So if you really want to know where I go to school, it's very easy for you now. But so it's called Cantala, and the reason it's very specific is because it's a Latin-based word, but it's not an actual word. So like it was, the people made it from the choir in like 2003 or something. They made the word, so it's not actually a word. Yeah, so it's very specific to this school. But it's like our treble voices choir, and it was originally just called the women's choir, but then the director was like, that's lame, it makes it sound like a second-rate choir that was just founded because it had to be, like, so then they made a better name and made it not a second-rate choir, because that's not what it was. It's like technically a step below the concert choir, which is the elite like mixed group, but it's really not. Like, we do extremely difficult stuff, and the choir is like nationally and internationally known for how it like, so it's a very good choir, and that's the one I was expecting to be in, because that's what, like, yeah. Although me and my roommate felt really bad because we both got into that one, and our other friend, not the friend who is in the musical with us, a different friend, did not get into the auditioned choirs. They just got put in like the other choir, which we both felt bad and we didn't really know how to act, but it was whatever. And then we had like a retreat to the second campus that the school has, like on one of the Great Lakes, which was really fun. We had that this weekend. We just got back yesterday at like 5. Yesterday being Sunday. I record these on Mondays, if you can figure that out. But we just got back. It was super fun. I might talk more about it later, because I'm kind of at time here. Might wrap it up. But it was nice to just bond, and there was a lot of like fun things we did. We got a lecture from a retired professor who I found out was actually my studio teacher's voice teacher, which was very reassuring to me because I liked a lot of what that guy was talking about too. And I liked his philosophies, which means they're probably very similar to my voice teacher's philosophies. They might not be the same, but they're probably similar, which was very nice. So, probably gonna wrap it up here. Thank you all for listening to this episode, and my favorite song this week is May I Suggest by Red Molly.